Okay, welcome to the Fat Loss Nutrition Bible. This is officially the first training that I've ever actually done in this setting. I've released guides, ebooks before, but nothing quite as comprehensive as this. It's basically everything that I know, if my word means anything, when it comes to fat loss and handling nutrition and diet, which is a huge variable, hugely key. If you're not handling diet and you're trying to lose weight, I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to assume two things. If you're watching this video, you're probably trying to lose some body fat. Okay, you're trying to get some help, some support, find a easier way of doing so. And two, that you probably know who I am. If you don't know who I am and you've somehow found your way to that landing page and you found this link, it is somebody trying to steal my identity. I don't know why that link has appeared elsewhere. Unimportant. Anyway, let's get into this. So we're going to go through a presentation. The escape button hasn't worked. Sick. Oh, wait, no, we don't need the escape button, do we? No, this is off to a roaring start. You can tell I've never done this before. So, actually, we're going to need to minimize myself a little bit more, though. I'm going to try and do this all in one take. I don't know how well this is going to go. Might be a long day. So, the nutrition bubble for fat loss. I didn't even give it the right title. No nonsense, no bullshit. If you're looking for your next fad diet, turn this off. I'm not going to sell you bollocks here. I'm going to sell you real, what's going to work. I'm not going to teach you bullshit. This is the only real method that you can rely on to guarantee results if you do it right, if you apply everything that you've learned. This is the way, okay? So, why did I put the animations on there? The animations are going to slow this down like nobody's business. Fuck me. Right, why do you want to lose body fat? A good reason why, and keep this in the back of your mind, increases the chance you'll be successful. You need to know why you're trying to lose body fat, okay? If you're just doing it for any odd reason, or you're not remembering your reason why, when things get hard, if you haven't got a clear picture of what your future is going to look like, if you get better control of your body fat, maybe it's health, maybe it's fitness, maybe it's confidence, how you're feeling in your own skin. We can go through those. So, longer life, good or bad. A lot of people are fucking miserable these days. Life is suffering, life is pain. But life is less painful when you've got a pair of abs. Okay? It's not going to fix all your problems. It hasn't fixed all my problems. Easier, more enjoyable life while you're here. So, it's about longevity, not just how long you're going to live, but also your quality of life. Obesity, diabetes, all these long term health conditions, they're less than ideal. They're really not good to have, and they're going to seriously impact your quality of life. Okay, improve self-esteem, your confidence, more respect from everyone around you. Okay, we do live in a very materialistic, very shallow society. Okay, you are, as much as people don't want to be judged by your appearance, if you struggle to control your weight or you're like a less than healthy individual, it's going to reflect badly on you. For most people don't want to admit that, but if think about it, if you're thinking those things yourself, other people perceive you as the same. Of course, we'd love to live in a world where we're non-judgmental, but being in shape and being able to control your health and your body, it does convey a message to people that you're probably somebody that is somewhat disciplined, that does what they says they're going to do, that care, have some level of responsibility. Again, I'm not bashing anybody that has, sort of got themselves to a point of higher body fat levels. It's very easy in this day and age. I think over half of us are overweight. It happens to everyone, pretty much, or 1 in 2 people. So it is something that is very easy to happen. You're not a bad person for ending up in a certain position. We shouldn't judge people based on it, but it really does change the way that you're perceived, and it really can improve your life across the board. Okay, better choice of a future potential partner on a purely physical level. It doesn't fix everything. Getting into better shape hasn't fixed my slightly autistic personality. So, what I want you to do here is have some balance with your reason why. I don't want you to hate yourself or see yourself as a loser, because that self image, that self belief is not going to be beneficial in this journey. Have a positive reason. Tie your reason why to a positive thing, okay? If you've got kids, you're going to be around longer for your kids. You're going to have more energy to play with your kids. If you are currently single, again, you're going to have more confidence to go into the dating pool. You're just going to have a more fun day today. You're going to feel better in yourself, not just mentally, but physically as well. Okay, tie it to a positive reason. It doesn't have to be a selfish pursuit either. Something that I found myself is tying my goals and my reasons why to how it's going to impact the people that I care about, or maybe the future people, such as my kids. It's the reason why I work on business, so that my future partner and my kids can have a better quality of life. Taking care of your body can have a positive influence on friends, family, a partner if you do already have one. You can be the leading example to show that you don't have to live a life of suffering and dealing with issues that come with being overweight, etc., etc. The first most important thing to understand is the one rule of fat loss. This is the only rule. This is the only thing that will lead to a successful fat loss journey. This is the only thing that gets rid of body fat on the body. Every single diet that has worked, take that keto, intermittent fasting, carnivore, beer only fast. I probably wouldn't recommend the last one. Although I could go for a beer right now, to be fair. Anyway. And that is a calorie deficit. You didn't see that one come in. Calories in, calories out. Tissue on the body does not appear from nowhere. If you find yourself with an excess of body fat on the body, you've for some time been consuming more energy than you have been burning or using on a day-to-day basis. People claim to understand this, but will still ask silly questions such as, well, maybe if I take bread out of the equation, I'm going to lose weight. Well, if taking bread out puts you into a calorie deficit, yes, you're going to lose weight. Maybe I'm eating too many fats. I don't know. Are you in a calorie deficit? I eat food right before bed sometimes. Is this causing me to gain weight? I don't know. Are you in a calorie deficit? I drink too much alcohol. I don't know. Does that take you into a calorie surplus? I think I'm eating foods that aren't giving me a good metabolism, or I'm spiking my insulin too much, so I'm putting on body fat. I don't know, mate. Are you in a calorie surplus? If you are, you're going to put body fat on. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. Any diet will only work on the principle that you are taking in less energy than you are burning, therefore creating a calorie deficit. That's where we get the term from. So how many calories should you eat to create that deficit, either day by day or week by week? Let's jump into that. So the energy seesaw, I use a seesaw analogy because it really just simplifies things. So on the left of that seesaw, we have TDEE. This is the calories out side of the equation. What's interesting here is you can see that the majority of your calories expended on a day-by-day basis comes from what we call BMR, your basal metabolic rate. This is from just existing. You're already burning most of your calories just by being alive. Well done. Gold stars. The next biggest is the NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Basically, a really fancy way of saying any calories burnt that don't come from exercise, okay? For the average person, generally speaking, you're burning more calories from your daily movement. This is the steps you do when you're doing housework, when you're cooking, when you're at work. Unless you have a sedentary job, then you're probably not burning that many. Even though actually tapping away on the keyboard, bouncing your foot, that's also burning calories. Literally any activity that you wouldn't officially think of as exercise, so you're not going to the gym, you're not going for a run, counts. Even late night vigorous wrist action, whether that's for your own pleasure or somebody else's, it all counts. Horizontal cardio is an amazing way of burning calories. Not that I've been burning that much lately, but you know, it is what it is. The lowest contributors actually being TEF and EAT, which is thermic effect of food and your exercise activity thermogenesis. Okay, basically they're not as important. On the right side, we have calories in. So this is everything you consumed. I mean everything. So many people slip up by not taking into account the small things. Not only that, but it's important that you're actually accurate and honest with what you're taking in. If you think you've got a single serving of Cocoa Pops, right, unless you've weighed it out, how do you actually know? You could be eating double. We have things like, a lot of us will drink tea on a day-by-day basis. How many cups of tea are you having? How much milk are you putting in? How much sugar are you putting in? Sounds small, but over a long enough time period, and we are thinking long term here, those calories do add up, and we've got to be accurate here, okay? One of the biggest culprits is our calorie-dense foods, such as butters, oils, and fats, like peanut butter or butter. A lot of people say, well, yeah, I only have a tablespoon of peanut butter in my oats in the morning. But if we take a look at that tablespoon, it's fucking piled on the top of the spoon, okay? That's not a tablespoon. What even is a tablespoon? I don't know. Spoons are different sizes. There is actually an official measurement for tablespoon, but most people don't even have that. Where the left, your TDEE, is greater than the total energy consumption, we have what we then call an energy or a calorie deficit. A calorie is actually just a measurement of energy. That's what a calorie is, if you didn't know. And that's what fat is. It is a store of energy on the body. So when we have an energy deficit over a period of time, the body has no choice but to call on the body fat as a reserve of that energy so that you don't die and your heart still keeps beating and you keep breathing. Ideal. An interesting teaching point is when you actually lose body fat, it's actually exhaled as carbon dioxide. I think. Let me fact check that. Fuck me, imagine if I'm just giving bullshit info. Your body excretes that body fat as either carbon dioxide when you exhale or as water in the form of urine and sweat. Lovely. So you're not just melting body fat off your body, you're also evaporating body fat from your body. Evaporation is the process of taking a solid and turning it into a gas. Interesting. Research shows that a pound of body fat is roughly equivalent to around 3,500 calories. Therefore, if you were going to lose a pound of fat per week, we need a calorie deficit of around 500 calories across the entire week, or an average of 500 calories, sort of. The body can actually pull energy from other sources, such as muscle. We want to hold on to that muscle, or at least I hope you do. So we need to create an environment that signals to keep that muscle. Okay, a lot of you are maybe coming off the back of a bulk phase where you've worked really hard to build some muscle. We want to hold on to that. More on that later. So how do you work out your TDEE then, and therefore know where to place your calories coming in to create a deficit? So one of the easiest ways is to go to a standard calorie calculator.net. If you just type in calorie calculator, it is the first search result, and put in all your info. I'll do it as an example. Okay, so what you're going to do is go to Google, whatever your preferred browser of choice is, and we're just going to type in calorie calculator. Okay, let's hope that nothing dodgy comes on the recent searches, which it wouldn't, because I'm not that kind of person. Jesus Christ. Calorie calculator, beautiful, top search result. We're going to wait for that bad boy to load. Okay, so I'm going to put in our metrics. So right now, I am 25, I am male, I am unfortunately 173 centimeters. In terms of weight, I am 84 kg. In terms of exercise, I'm a pretty active person. I walk a lot, so we're going to put in active, calculate, bada bing, bada boom. So to maintain my weight, I need around 2,800 calories a day, apparently. The interesting thing is here, I'm actually currently losing weight on around 3,200 calories a day because, again, important teaching point, this is not perfect, okay? People's BMR, which is essentially what this calculator is estimating, can vary significantly. Even people of the same weight, the same height, same for activity. Some people with undiagnosed ADHD are hyperactive. Looking at me, can't sit still. I don't know, I've sat still for 17 minutes so far. Quite impressed. You're going to have to test this, okay? A little calculated trial and error will do the trick. So how do we test it? So we're going to start at the initial calorie calculation, either by tracking food or following a plan. We're going to touch on this in a little bit. You're going to track your body weight every single day for the first 2 weeks. This is important because weight can fluctuate quite significantly. You want to track that first thing in the morning is the most accurate way. Again, the reason we're going to track it every single day is because for whatever reason, stress, amount of carbs consumed the day before, salt taken in, whatever it might be, your weight can fluctuate a little bit. Bringing out my statistics knowledge here, as if you didn't know, I actually was once studying for a maths degree. What went wrong? I don't know. The more data points we have, the more confident we can be in any correlation that we are seeing. So if we're trying to lose body weight, okay, let's say you only tracked your weight once a week, and on that first week you had a high weight fluctuation, and on the second week you had a low fluctuation for whatever kind of coincidence, you might think, great, I've lost 0.5 or a whole kg, when in actuality you might not have done. The reason why we take more data points is we can be more confident that that is working. I also want you to track your steps. Remembering NEAT, that's what this is, okay? These are a super key variable. More on this later. I feel like a broken record, but there's more on this later thing, because I just keep saying it. But it is coming later. After those first couple of weeks, you will see if it is working. Be patient, don't jump the gun. How much should you lose per week? Does vary depending on how much body fat you have, how long you've been cutting for, how much you hate yourself, how much muscle you want to lose. You should love yourself and you should want to keep that muscle, so we're going to go nice and slow, okay? This probably won't be and shouldn't be a linear journey. Again, we're going to fluctuate a little bit. We're going to hit plateaus. Life is going to get in the way. Your boss is going to be a twat. Your partner's going to give you the, oh, you're spending all this time in the gym and you're trying to lose all this body fat. You're obviously trying to cheat on me. You clearly don't love me anymore. You're trying to get someone prettier, aren't you? You're trying to get someone prettier. Well, that's how I imagine it would be. I've never endured that, obviously. So, all right, so now you understand calories, but what the fuck is a macro? Well, hopefully, if you keep watching, you're going to understand it. Macronutrients are probably what you know as carbs, fats, proteins. There are actually others, like alcohol is actually its own macronutrient. And it's a good one. It's a bloody good one. 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. 1 gram of protein is also 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. Scary, right? No. This is actually why I've never understood keto bashers, because fats are inherently more calorie dense. So they're a lot easier to overconsume. If you're going to try and get as fat as possible, what would you eat? Probably pizzas, burgers, ice cream. What are they most high in? Fats. I'm not saying that to put you off. You still want to be consuming fats for just general health, hormonal function. They play a role. They're all important. You're not fat because of carbs. You're not fat because of fats. You're fat because of excess calories in any form. You could get fat from eating only protein. It'd be difficult and unlikely to do, and I'll tell you why later, why protein is probably arguably more important in a cut than a bulk. More on this later. How much protein do you want to have? Studies show that between 1.5 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight is ideal. But latest research does also say that there's not that much difference within this range. So if you're eating 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, you're probably still going to produce and hold on to very similar muscle as 2.2 grams for the majority of trainees, unless you're very, very lean. But shooting for around 2.2 grams would cover all of your bases, and it has a higher satiety rating, e.g. you feel less hungry. I did just say more on this later, and I've just explained it in the next slide. So thought out. Now, if you really do have a lot of excess body fat, you're on the higher end of the body fat percentage scale. This calculation will come out a lot higher than you need. Therefore, another method is to simply take your height in centimeters and consume that many grams of protein per day. Again, me being 173 centimeters, nerfed by God at birth for being 5'9". If I would have been 6'2", it would have been a fucking problem anyway. So I would therefore consume 173 grams of protein per day, and that's actually very close to what I'm having now anyway. So carbs and fats. When it comes to carbs and fats, we have some flexibility down to individual physiology or even just preferences. A little bit of trial and error, see what works best for you. Personally, I generally put carbs somewhere around 30 to 40%, and fats are going to sit around 20 to 30%. E.g., if your total calories are 2,000, you divide that by 100 and multiply by the desired percentage. Then you have how many calories are for that macro, remembering a gram of carbs and fats are 4 and 9 calories respectively. So divide by those numbers to then get how many grams of each, roughly. Or if you didn't pass secondary school maths, just use an online calculator, or even message me, I'll do it for you because I'm just that nice of a guy. It's important to understand though, there are people that essentially eat zero carbs and get results. There are people that eat next to no fat and get results. You can be very flexible. I've found in practice, in my own training and in training clients, these aren't as important, but likely a balance is best because healthy fats and the correct carb sources, especially things like your fruit and veg, have their own benefits irrespective of purely looking at calories and getting jacked on one, because again, apparently there are other things that are equally, probably not, but equally important to having big biceps and abs. Foods to have for the success of your bulk. For success, the bulk of your diets probably include these types of food. Obviously, there are other options and foods you can have more rarely, but these are the powerhouses. Carbs generally give you like your oats, rice, potato, fruit and veg. Fats, olive oil, fattier meats, oily fish is good twice a week. Nuts, avocado, dairy, eggs, protein, leaner meats. Whey protein powder if you need it in a pinch, definitely not essential. Dairy, eggs, tofu if you're a plant muncher, legumes, etc., etc. I'm not a fan of putting foods into these categories. To be honest, this whole slide, I kind of really thought, do I even include this? But it's at least good to have some kind of idea of the types of foods that really do work well, because they're not really 100% one or another. You'll notice that dairy appears twice, eggs appear twice, because most foods aren't 100% one macronutrient. It's really about knowing what kind of foods are proportionally higher in one and building meals that will result in the end of the day macros being where they need to be. Generally, a good idea is to space your protein out across each of the meals per day. Let's say, as a nice square number, you're aiming to get 200 grams of protein and you're eating 4 meals a day. Then you're going to divide 200 by 4, getting 50 with each meal. Or 5 meals a day, dividing by 5, you're getting 40 grams of protein with each meal. If you're really stuck on how to put meals together, drop us a message, I can help you out. Okay, so you understand calories, you understand macros, you've probably done a bit of a calculation on where they're supposed to be, how many calories you're having, how much protein. Again, carbs and fats can be a little bit more flexible, but you probably got a good idea what it's supposed to look like. So how do you really manage that? How do you start putting all of this together? There are 2 main approaches. You can either track your food or you can follow a meal plan, okay? So when you track your food, you're going to need to use a food tracker, MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, or the nutrition log in my coaching app. Shameless plug. I do coaching, if you didn't already know. This style offers a lot of flexibility, which can be a blessing and a curse. You will track everything you consume daily. Relies on accurate training. Relies on accurate tracking, however. Don't be forgetting to add stuff or thinking that little stuff doesn't matter. Remember, as we spoke about before, you need to actually know that the serving of food that you're having is the serving of food. Invested in a kitchen scale, investing in a pair of kitchen scales is probably one of the best things you're going to do. Little things do add up. Size isn't everything, or that's what I've heard. I wouldn't personally know. I don't struggle in that department. I was only challenged in terms of length in my height. You can find plenty of tutorials on YouTube or within the apps themselves. There's a good one. I've just now realized that you're watching a video and you can't actually copy that text there. We're learning as we go here. Every day is a school day. Only negatives are, it can be tedious, requires consistency. We'll have some people thinking you're obsessive. They're just projecting and pissed off that you're losing weight and they're not, all right? It's a good option when you are on the go or you've had a routine that's all fucked up. You know, maybe you haven't had a chance to meal prep, okay? Or maybe you're traveling for work. In this sense, you probably can't follow the same routine and structure that you're used to day to day. So this is probably a really good option. On the other side, we have following a meal plan, okay? I'm a big fan of this one, simply because it breeds consistency, routine, and structure, more or less in a minute. Following a specific meal plan, everything is already pre-calculated. All you need to do is follow it, okay? With a little bit of flexibility, maybe you have off-plan food, more on that in a bit. All you need to do is follow it exactly, or you're going to be fat forever. Of course, not true. You can cater in off-plan food or alternatives for meals to keep things fresh. So I prefer this method for those who it works that have an established routine already. Routine delivers consistency, consistency delivers results. Even better is if you start prepping this food in advance and in bulk, you'll have as near an automated process as possible. You still need to be accurate, don't make the mistake. The first time that you follow a meal plan, what I would do is weigh that food, put it into an app tracker, similar to how you would on a food track diet. You can use one of the trackers listed before to make sure that it does match your goals, because let's say, for example, if you do follow a meal plan and you think it adds up to X amount of calories, but you haven't actually been measuring that food or following it accurately, you might not actually be where you thought you were. Oh, is my battery dying? Fuck. We're back, baby. So both of these methods work. I've got results personally with each, and I've also coached results with each. Like most things when it comes to this, it's about the individual, what suits your life better, what do you prefer, which are you going to stick to. Trial both. If I'm being honest, the best approach could be a little bit of a mix of both, depending on the situation you find yourself in or what's going on with your life at that point in time. Most of the time, you probably will be able to follow a meal plan. Nice bit of structure, consistency, automating everything. But every now and again, due to whatever reason, you may need to brush off the rust on the MyFitnessPal app and utilize that. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Can't wait to edit this one. It's already 34 minutes long. Fuck my life. Now, do other approaches and principles work? Yes, they do. People will get results with things like Slimming World, Weight Watchers, portion control, whole food approach, keto, intermittent fasting, all the rest, yada, yada, yada. The problem is I could write you a plan that sticks to all of the rules of any of those diet types that still wouldn't work. And that's because this is the only way, by using a calorie deficit, that will guarantee a result, unless you have a serious medical issue, like, let's say maybe somebody's got hypothyroidism, they've just got a really, really slow metabolism. The thing is, it actually still would work. It just makes it a lot harder for it to work. I don't fuck with chance, and neither should you. You could waste loads of time restricting yourself unnecessarily, all to still get zero results. That's why we go with the science. You're not too lazy to do it. It's just new, and it will take some time getting used to. But with enough time, this will become part of your general routine, and you'll build a habit around this lifestyle. Yes, it's not sexy, but the unsexy work delivers the sexy results, or so I've heard. Yes, it may at times be tedious. You may not always have perfect adherence, but you don't need to. Just stick with it. And as time goes on and you learn a little bit more, you've got a little bit more of an understanding, you can adjust and tweak things as you go. So how are we going to set all of that up, right? So you're going to either track your food, you're going to meal plan your food, you know what calories you're aiming for, what protein. But another super key thing is actually making that process as easy to follow as possible. This is where we get into the setup. One of the easiest ways of doing this, so you don't have to make too many drastic changes off the bat, is plug in what your average day of eating already looks like. Maybe before you even set up a meal plan, or whether you actually start thinking about changing things, track your food for a couple of days, put in what you normally eat. You may only need a few small tweaks to get it into the desired ranges, or you may need a complete revamp. Once you've mapped out what an ideal day of eating looks like, Is it going to be the same every day, or do you need different plans for different parts of the week? Do you eat out often? Do you have family meals? Creating all of this into your plan. So again, you don't have to be that guy who's out for food with Tupperware at the table. There's probably not many people that do that, but you don't want to be that guy. What I'll actually do is my current meal plan. Not only do I have it obviously on the coaching app that I use myself and I use with my coach, I'll actually just have a piece of paper on the inside of the cupboard just so it reminds me of what it looks like. We also need to think about how you're getting the food. Are you going to food shop for the food yourself? Are you going to do an online food shop? Could you utilize a meal prep service to make things even easier? When are you going to prepare the bits that need to be prepared? How can these tasks fit into your schedule around work, other commitments, family time? Have all of this written down into a calendar app. It's one of the best things I ever did for not just my training, but work with business coaching, was having a schedule. It doesn't have to be super strict. You don't have to you don't have to stick to it like a robot, but having some idea of what your week looks like and your days look like can help to streamline things a lot. If we are food tracking, what are your go-to meals? On days where your routine is flipped upside down, what is an easy get out of jail free card? If you don't have meals ready, you can go to your local store, order some food. What is a good option to do so? This is going to look different to each person. I cannot stress enough how much planning and being organized is going to make this process so much easier for you. So how do we not make the journey shit? Not all of you are like a dog like me who will eat the same meal every day, day in, day out, and think this is fucking sick. Some of you will just get sick of that. You're not going to follow it. It's not going to be sustainable. Although that does work very well. First is the 80-20 principle. 80% of your diet is going to be on plan, whole food, powerhouse foods. 20% you can be a little bit more flexible. Keep it near the calorie targets unless it's an occasional off-plan meal that you've catered in or a planned refeed period. If you've got a snack in the cupboard that you've been thinking about and craving for a long time, maybe just have less carbs than the previous meals in a day and allow for that cookie to fit in. Calorie banking. This is really useful if you're a regular weekend warrior. You can slightly reduce calories across the week or on days you're not making terrible life decisions, in turn giving you more to play with on the weekend or when you're out and about. You can even use this when you have a planned social or event coming up and you're worried that that is going to completely derail your progress. It won't. You probably don't even need to do this if it's a very occasional thing, but you could do. Remember though that this is a small adjustment. Those 2,000 calories coming from the 10 points you had on Saturday should not be pulled from the 2 previous days. So it's just beg the question, if it just matters about the right calories that I'm eating and the right macros, even if I eat junk food all the time, why can't I just eat whatever the fuck I want? The truth is, you could. I could actually quite literally write you a McDonald's meal plan that would deliver results for you. Firstly, despite myself and some of you feeling that being jacked is probably the only thing in life that matters, we should probably consider our health. Guess what? When your health fails, your training will. It should be a priority. On the same token, it isn't sustainable, not just for the health, but also your adherence to the plan. I know when I go for fast food, I feel like I could eat 3 or 4 of those whole meals in one go. This is because calorie dense, low satiety junk food doesn't blunt hunger as well as whole food. We want to control hunger throughout your fat loss journey as best as we can, hence the 80-20 principle. Feeling that hunger and having food cravings can be the reason many stay put in the same place. We want to attack that ahead of time. We want to eat in a way that's going to keep us satisfied as possible. High satiety, low calorie dense food, whole food should make up a large proportion of your diet. Plenty of protein, again, going back to the previous point, as protein is high satiety. You can push near to that 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, or your height in centimeters. Fruit and veg. Yes, the fruit that has sugar in it that people think makes them fat. Again, it just matters how many calories are coming in. Potatoes are a king carb source that will fill you up. Naturally, of course, not fried. Limit foods are the opposite, e.g. desserts, snacks, crisp chocolate, fried food, sweets, baked goods, oils, syrups, cereals. Just limit them.
Eat fish. Make sure you're eating fish. Eat a lot of fish. I'm in. Eat fish.
You're not in.
Oh. Make sure you eat fish. Eat fish.
And a rice cake.
And a rice cake.
But it is also worth digging into your psyche and your mental, trying to figure out why it is that you hunger signal or you start to crave food and you have a lot of food focus. Is it when you're stressed that you reach for junk foods? It's actually been proven that junk food and sort of pleasure foods actually are and active and do work as a stress reliever. So limiting stress is probably a good idea. I've always said that when people self-sabotage, I'd prefer to coin this as the term self-soothing. I got this from a guy called Paul Moore. When you fuck up, You're not doing that because you're deliberately trying to derail your progress. What you are doing is self-soothing. There's a reason why you're trying to make yourself feel better in the present, even if that comes at odds with whatever your long-term goal is. So dig into why you might be reaching for bad food or making bad decisions as it concerns your mental health. So the other variables, okay, I'm going to touch on this really, really quick because obviously this training is focused mainly just on nutrition for fat loss, but it's only one small piece of the puzzle. Not small, actually, it's probably the biggest part of the puzzle, but steps are king. So remembering NEAT from earlier, this is a big difference and it is a priority. You get your steps up, you're probably going to lose weight. Even if you change nothing apart from increasing your daily activity, you probably could, if you are a very sedentary or an active person, lose weight, not even changing your diet, by simply doing more steps per day. 10,000 is a number of steps thrown around quite regularly. People say you need 10,000 steps a day, and you should probably aim for that. And it's probably realistic for most people, but again, it's very dependent on the individual. Track them. If you're averaging about 5,000, try to get to about 8,000 first. Small, steady progressions, minimum effective dose. Again, you might not even need to push up to 10,000. The beauty is, the more that you move, the less restrictive you need to be in terms of calories. This will help when you're in the trenches, the weight's really plateauing, if you really make use of steps, and sprinkling cardio if you really, really want to, or you feel that you have to. I don't do any. You could try looking at a weekly total instead of daily targets. So not every day of the week is going to look exactly the same. If you have an active job 5 days of the week, obviously your days off, you're probably doing a lot less calories. If Sunday you feel the need to just exist on the sofa, that's fine. Just get an extra few thousand steps every other day. I would recommend setting really a minimum standard for steps. Really being active every single day is good, not just for our goal here, but also just generally health, how you feel, energy level. It's only really when you're struggling to make more time to move and that the weight has slowed down that you should really look at reducing calories. Training, it's really important that you do not take your foot off the gas when it comes to training. Some people automatically think we're going to get weaker quickly, we're going to have less energy, so we should probably go easier in the gym. This is just dead wrong. You should be aiming to maintain strength numbers or even early doors, still shoot for progressions in terms of your logbook. You want to stay active, you want to keep moving. Again, we're trying to hold on to that muscle. You probably worked really hard to build it, so now you're going to have to work even harder to keep it. If you haven't previously been weight training, but you're looking to build some muscle now and completely like recomp your physique, you're in a really advantageous position because beginner gains or muscle memory, you can actually grow into that cut and both build muscle and lose body fat at the same time. For most people who've been training for a while, this is probably unlikely. But what training is also going to do is, again, burn more calories. It's another piece of the puzzle. You don't just want to lose a bunch of body fat. It'd be quite nice to have some muscle under there. It's going to improve even more how you look and how you feel, how you function. Another piece of the puzzle that can make the whole journey more motivating when you're getting stronger in the gym, when you're training regularly. That can become something that you actually get fairly addicted to if you stick with it for long enough. Recovery, progress occurs when we're resting. Most people would see better results if they actually took care of their recovery. Sleep is number one. Again, talking about preserving muscle is super important that you keep on top of your sleep and a cut because we're already in what would be a catabolic state. So you want to give your body every excuse to hold on to muscle as much as it can. I'm going to have another training coming soon on sleep. Habits are just repeated behaviors. Repeated behaviors are what make up our lifestyle. A lot of the time, habits that we perform without even realizing that we're doing them. So it's important to start identifying those things, reducing the occurrence of bad ones, and trying to implement some more good ones. How many times have you, without even thinking about it, maybe reached for that pack of biscuits in the cupboard? Before you know it, they're all gone. You've just been basically working off instinct. As well, we say is try and keep bad foods tucked away in a cupboard. If you're, for example, working in the office and you've got snacks to eat while you're working away, you're probably just going to, without even thinking about it, keep eating them. It takes about 21 days to form a new habit, so you've got to stick with it, really be conscious of it, bring it to your focus. Useful habits are daily movement, drinking enough water, reducing snacking, daily sunlight, sleep hygiene and routines as we just touched on. Maybe making time for learning, either about this process itself or something that's going to benefit you. Mindfulness if you're into that sort of thing, socializing with friends, family, challenging yourself, putting yourself out your comfort zone. The best habits are going to look very different for each person. They don't need to be extreme or complex. My morning routine and evening routines are really, really very simple. There's no cold showers at 4 a.m. My alarm is actually 10 a.m. in the morning, believe it or not. Supplementation. Supplements are just that, supplemental. They only account for a small variable. The basics are really the priority. Where everything else is controlled and adhered to, They can be an option. They will work. Creatine is the one I would suggest for everyone. It's super well studied, proven to be so effective. 3 to 5 grams per day should be enough for most individuals. You don't need the loading period, as some people might look up and read upon. If you just take the serving per day, it will start to work after a couple of weeks. Vitamins and minerals, you should be looking for gaps in your diet. A lot of people will take a multivitamin without even really thinking about why they need it, or they'll supplement with things unless you have plugged your food into Chronometer, for example, which will give you the nutrient profile of your food, and you can see that your actual diet is lacking in something, or you've had blood tests to show that you actually are deficient in a mineral. A lot of people are just taking vitamins and minerals haphazardly, just guessing that they need them. You could just be wasting your money. Vitamin D3 is the only one that I say is a really good option. Most people are deficient, especially if you live somewhere like the UK, here where we just have terrible sun most days of the year. You can consult with a doctor to see where your levels are and see if it would be ideal. Again, test this. Fish oil is another good shout if you don't consume oily fish twice a week. Salmon twice a week, which you could cater into your diet, would give you everything you need. Fish oil has a lot of good benefits in terms of inflammation, long-term health, etc., etc. There are other options for supplements, but I'm not going to include them here. You probably shouldn't be taking steroids. It's probably not a good idea. So the timeline, how long is it going to take you to reach your goal? Okay. There is really no predictable timeline. Of course, we can project how much weight you'll lose weekly and make a guess based on like an arbitrary goal, but it's going to look different for every single person. You may think that you need X amount of time and need to get down to X amount of body weight to get the look that you're after or to start feeling better, but you won't actually know till you get there. Some people will think maybe if I get down to a medium shirt, a 32 waist, then I've got the look that I want, but you actually get there and think actually there's still a bit of a change that I want to see. Don't get me wrong, you should of course still have a goal and a set timeline. This creates a deadline. It can help with motivation, can help mentally with adherence. I use them all the time with clients. Everybody has a phased out approach, a phased out plan. But everybody's timeline really and rate of progress is going to look different. You may have more fat to lose. You may have more barriers in your life or conflicting responsibilities that mean you can't follow as optimal a plan as another person. One line I always use is optimal isn't necessarily optimal on the individual's level. Remember that comparison is the thief of joy. So just because one person's getting results quicker than you doesn't mean that you're not going to reach the end goal. A lot of people will leave things to the last minute, and they've only got a few weeks till an event. You could cut your calories severely, do 30,000 steps a day, spend all the time on the Stairmaster, but you're not going to last long. Would you finish the job? Probably not. You might if you really do hate yourself. You'd also lose all the muscle that you probably worked really hard for. Less than ideal. Give yourself enough time. Fall in love with the journey and the process. Generally around 0.5 to a kg a week, or 0.5 to 3% in the extremes percent of body weight is desirable. It will likely be quicker in the first few weeks and then slow down, and slower if you really wish to go all the way into the mists of Avalon and get to shredded lower body fat levels. There may be the odd week where nothing changes. Don't panic here and act on emotion and quickly change things or cut calories. Weight fluctuations are normal. If you haven't seen movement for more than a week, increase steps first if you can, or activity, then reduce calories by as little as 5% and see what happens. Only if you know you've actually been adherent to the plan. Again, you might have a week where you didn't track or you weren't exactly on plan with food and maybe weight's maintained. You might think, well, obviously now I need lower calories. No, you just weren't accurate. You're actually over consuming, and therefore if you're accurate next week with the plan, things are going to start moving again for you. Once a week or every 2 weeks in a social, it's probably fine if you want to have a cheat meal. Many people aren't as boring as me, again, and just fancy some shit food. If you've been dieting for an extended time, more than 2 to 3 months, or every 2 to 3 months, you can make use of what we call a refeed period. This could just be a week or two of it around maintenance. That's equal to your TDEE, the left side of that energy balance seesaw, or slightly above, to give yourself both a mentally and physical break. The thing that I see in practice quite often is if a weight loss journey has slowed and we give the client a refeed, and I've seen this in my own anecdotal process as well, it has this kind of resensitization effect where you've kind of been, an analogy I like to use is like caffeine. If you've been consuming caffeine and just banging coffees all day, every day for a long time, caffeine stops working. When you take the stimulus away and bring it back at a later date, it tends to start working better again. It's the same with like energy. It's the same with like a calorie deficit. If you think of it like a stimulus on the body, if you take it away for a short period and then bring it back, generally things start to slide again. It's important that you've got to see this through. There are times, you know, if you're somebody that's been building muscle, you're going to feel small or they'll feel like you've lost muscle on a cut. Generally speaking, the only reason why you feel you look smaller is because you do look smaller. You've probably been consuming less carbs. Carbs are stored as glycogen in the muscle. When there's less glycogen in the muscles look deflated. You just need to run a couple of days refeed and you're going to look probably the best you've looked ever. You may have people around you that are going to doubt you, voices in your ear, say that things like you're being obsessive. A lot of people have friends or family that, you know, probably some of the reason why you've maybe put on an excess body fat before, because you are a product of your environment. Sometimes these people can be quite judgmental. They can be projecting on you because you're trying to better yourself and maybe they're feeling jealous or a little bit guilty of their own position that they're in. They might make remarks that clearly it's not working, even though you should have the data to back up that it is. Fuck their opinion and respectfully fuck them. I'm not saying do this stupid thing of like cutting people off, never talk to your mom again, never talk to your brother again, never talk to your mates again. You don't need to. Just have those open conversations, show them what can be a different future. Who knows, you might just inspire them. If they remain jealous, it's their loss. What's the one thing that I see that kills results every single time? It's not that people can't make the process work. It's not that people are too busy or don't have the time. 99 times out of 100. In the past, I felt this, myself included, especially with like business. I would make excuses all the time about why things aren't working, when in reality it was basically all up here. It's all mental. It's not lack of time, it's not lack of energy, it's not the kids, it's not your family, it's not your friends, it's not your work, it's not your addictions, it's not your traumas, it's not your genetics, it's not your conditions, it's not that you're a failure, it's not that you're a loser, it's not your excuses, it's your mindset, self-belief, and the way that you think and feel about yourself. Cringe, I know, cliche. But it's true. Understand one thing. There are people that have had a worse situation, harder obstacles to overcome, worse mental, physical health, worse traumas, less genetically gifted than they were initially. They actually had a worse hand of cards and they made it work. I'm not saying this to invalidate your struggles. This isn't that. We all have the same 24 hours bullshit. I know that all of these things do make it really, really hard. There are so many situations or, you know, sort of mental conditions that make it really, really hard for people to do things. And I get at the start, it can feel almost impossible, but you can achieve it because somebody out there who, again, had a worse position has proven that to you. So it's all about if you're going to prioritize it and if you actually believe you can make it work, which I'm certain that you can. I'm confident that you can. You have to value it. It will be worth it, I promise you. Remember your why. Get really concrete on what the future might look like if you actually achieve a goal and if you actually do the things that you said you'd do and less of the things that you said you wouldn't do. Get excited about it, map it out. It's very rare that somebody has achieved the result and regretted doing it. If you apply what you've learned here, I promise you, you will see results, okay? You're going to drop body fat if you apply all the principles. You can watch this back as many times as you need. But as I spoke about a little bit earlier, I've had a coach for last year, right? I know all of this stuff. I'm a coach myself. I help people do the same, but yeah, I still had a coach, okay? Here's my offer to you. Sometimes the knowledge isn't enough. Sometimes we need more of a helping hand in the form of accountability, in the form of support, having somebody take care of all the tedious aspects, being able to just give you a plan that's already pre-made, specific to you, that you are fully confident in that's going to work. Together, we can make this process much easier, saving you time, energy, stress, and that feeling of being lost and confused. I live and breathe this stuff. Over the years of coaching, training, being coached, we've refined the process for all kinds of people and lifestyles. This is as close as guaranteeing progress as you can get. By investing into this, you'll have the tools for life. You'll learn a lot from a coaching experience. With a long list of successful results, yours could be the next one. You can see some of the results from below this webinar. If you scroll down, I've put some testimonials and stuff below. You'll also be joining a community of people on the same path. All that's required, if you are feeling motivated after this, if you really do want to make a change, is raising your hand for help, okay? If you want something that's completely specific to you, that you're confident is going to work, that you can apply to you, what you can do is book a free fitness audit or a game plan call, as I call it. I'm going to put the link to that somewhere down below in the landing page that you've just been on. Now, this is just a strategy call. There's actually zero obligation on your part to follow through and join the team. You could get all of the freebies, all the value that you want from the call and just dip off the call. The ball's in your half, you can do that. But you will learn a lot and you'll have a lot of things to take away and start applying immediately that goes into even more depth than this did. And again, we can have an open conversation so I can actually apply it to you. If I feel we're a good fit and you see the value in what I'm speaking about, then we can move on to the next step. So if you do want more help, obviously you can also get more information by DM me on Instagram or on my WhatsApp. I'll drop my number somewhere below as well, and we can take it from there. Cool. So that rounds things off. I hope that you did learn a lot from that. That you probably feel more confident, with things. I hope maybe to hear from some of you after you watch this, and then we can obviously take things to the next level, produce a result. Other than that, we are finito, done here.